A scribe. What's a scribe? Can you tell me what a scribe is?
A scribe was when you wanted something copied, you would tell them and then they would write it down.
That's right. Have you ever seen this base in any other words?
Describe.
Can you think of some other?
Describe.
Describe.
I thought you were gonna write subscribe. Subscribe. Subscribe to the video.
I'm asking.
Like and subscribe. Subscribe. Yeah.
Prescribe? Prescribe?
Prescribe.
Maybe prescription?
Scribble? No. Scribbles. Yeah.
Script?
No. Yeah, scribble.
No, not script.
Scribble?
Well, I think that's really interesting.
Scribble?
Guys, it's not.
And you even said prescription, which is similar to that. Are we talking about something that has a totally different meaning if we say S-C-R-I-P-T, script?
Oh. Gotcha.
Isn't it just the past tense verb ascribe?
Oh, it is related to scribe, depending on how we're using it. Can you think of, we've thought of a couple here that might be related to this in spelling, but what about this one? What are some other words now that we're thinking of that have that S-C-R-I-P-T in them?
Scripted.
What's another way of saying describe it? What if you already did? You wrote a
Describe.
description.
Description. Describble? No.
Oh, it looks like I forgot to finish this one.
Unsubscribe. Describe. No, press.
If you subscribe to something, then you have a subscription to it. Are you noticing if I say I have a subscription, I put an article in front of it, do you know what part of speech it would be? I have a subscription. You know what part of speech subscription would be?
Something digital or description.
Noun, absolutely. What is interesting about learning some of what I've been bringing to you is that when you see a word with an I-O-N at the end, it's telling you it's a noun. So that can be very helpful to know that those are nouns. Here, what are these? Describe it for me. What part of speech would that be?
Adjective? A verb?
A verb.
Oh, yeah, no.
It's action, right? I'm going to subscribe to something. My doctor prescribed something for me, right? And scribble, which is interesting. It's not exactly this spelling, but it's definitely related. I'm so glad that came up. So I find it interesting that we have both of these, and they kind of mean the same thing, don't they? They have to do with writing, right? So how do I know that? These are what we call twin bases. They're two bases, come from the same parent or grandparent, but they are the same one. They just have two different spellings. And we know they mean the same thing because of the way we use it. Describe, description, prescribe, prescription, subscribe, subscription. How many of you are familiar with attending church and have heard this word? Scripture.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. The scriptures. And that's what's written down. Again, having to do with writing. Yeah. So now I want to show you how I know that these two are
related.
Those two are twin bases. Here's where I want to look on here. I wonder, can I?
That's it?
Yep. Okay, what do we learn? Scribe as a noun, and it was first attested in the late 12th century. That means that there's a document from the 12th century in which this word is used. So we know the word's that old. It could be older, but we don't have any written evidence of it. And at that point it meant professional interpreter of the Jewish law. Here's interesting, the late 11th century it was a surname. Do you know what a surname is? That's like your last name. That's your surname, your last name. So somebody had scribe as their last name. Weird. From Church Latin, Let's see, let's keep going. It's a special use of scriber, keeper of accounts, secretary, a writer. And it is from scribere.
Scribere.
Yep. The sense, one who writes, official or public writer in English, is from the late 14th century. A copyist, a transcriber. And that's what we've been talking about. We've been talking about the scribes and some of the changes they made to spelling. All right, so it says here it comes from scribere. I happen to know that scribere is an infinitive. I happen to know that in Latin, because scribere is from Latin, if I was speaking Latin, I would be able to tell you exactly how it would be pronounced, but I don't. In Latin, they had 4 parts to every verb. 4. And if you think about it today, we have verbs like that. If I say drive, drove, driven, you know I'm talking about the same thing, right? Those are 3 different ways to spell the same verb. So think of this in Latin the same way. We've got scribere, so what would have been the first one? Yep, scriptus. Okay, so here's my 4 principal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Jordan, she's okay.
All right. And I have this magnet that also illustrates these 4 principal parts. Now what I want you to know about those parts is the first one, scribo, as orthographers or people interested in words, we're going to use that only if we're looking in a Latin dictionary. And we're not doing that today. That's a dictionary all written in Latin, and I have one, but we're not looking at that today. The second one, this is important for us to know about. The third one, not important for us to know about right now. The fourth one, important for us to know about. So here, it's this one and this one, the second part and the fourth part that are really important. With this one, there are 4 suffixes we're looking at. They were suffixes in Latin, by the way. Do we see an ARE on the end? Nope. Do we see an ERE? Yep. So we know we can remove that. That's the part we can remove. Seems to me I saw it. Yep. So I can remove that.
There's more markers right there in front of you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I see them.
No, that's okay, I dried them out.
And then I'm going to this 4th part, and it says, first I'm going to look for a UM or a US. Do you see one?
US.
Yep.
Just this.
So this is what I can remove off of that one. So what am I left with?
Script.
I am left with SCRIB, that's this one, with a final E put on, and SCRIPT, which is this one. Now I know where these 2 come from. They come from Latin, and they come from these 4 verbs. It's kind of cool. And we can use a guide like this to help us anytime we come across a Latin verb that has those endings on it. So here's what I'd like you to do today. What's a circumference?
The circular, the white, like a circle.
Right. If I said, here's a sentence, I want you to circumscribe the nouns, what are you going to do to the nouns?
Circle.
You're going to put them in circles, right? You're going to put a circle around every one of them, okay? Circumscribe. Now let's go to page 2. Postscript. You probably don't recognize this written out, but do you know what the initials that we use all the time are? Means after. Exactly. Postscript is usually abbreviated as PS, and you find it at the end of a letter, right? You write a letter to somebody and then you go, oh, forgot to say something. PS, don't forget to come over on Tuesday. You know, that kind of thing. So it's the after writing, when the letter's already done. Okay, inscribe. We've already talked about an inscription. So to inscribe is to write that inscription. Did we talk about a scriptorium last time?
Yeah, it was a writing room.
Yeah, it's a writing room. It's a very special desk or a room just for writing.